1.
Greetings, Earthlings.
We have
How are we
returned.
going, brother? Yeah, we have returned. It's Friday night and shit's about to get weird.
Yeah. Let's get hectic. I should turn all the lights off. No, just talk in the dark.
Yeah. Hey, bro. All right. So we're back once again with the Chasing Better with Knoxy show. I am Dylan, your host, and Knoxy is also your other host. So how are we going, brother?
Good, man. Big week in the gym. Online is absolutely crushing at the moment. We're saving a lot of lives, and that makes any Friday fucking awesome, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like, you've just been on an absolute heater, man. And like, one of the cool things, actually, just a little side note here, is you posted a pretty sick little reel this week. Can you tell us a little bit about that reel, man? Because there was a really cool sort of story behind that one.
I suppose probably the one that really just blew up, and it took probably about 2 hours. It had like 5,000 views, 300 likes.
Yep.
It's probably one of the best posts I've ever done, which in the social media space for me is huge. And I think the story behind it was like the music in the background is powerful because it's the wording is, slow down, you're doing fine. And I think the wording behind that was when we attached our post to the music, people just resonated with it because the message was, like, you are doing fine, like you're doing okay, like step back, take a step back, breathe, whatever you got to do to like center yourself a little bit. And I think so many people just love being told that, or being reminded of that, like it is possible
that it's okay.
And just take a breath, like, because so many people that I've talked to, and you can actually watch it, like next time you're and again, this is everyone out there, like next time you're talking to someone that is flustered or angry or whatever, just watch how they breathe. And you'll probably notice that they'll fire out like 30 to 45 seconds of blah, 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 and probably not take a breath, right? And that is a really quick indicator that they're stressed, like, and that they've got a lot on their mind. And sometimes even with them, you're like, hey man, let's just chill for a sec. Let's bring the breathing back under control. Now tell me what you need to tell me. And all of a sudden they go, oh shit, because you're breaking that. It's a pattern interrupt, right? Same as what we do with our social media posts, right? So yeah, that's what it was for.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that sort of links into what we're going to talk about today, like starting your journey. It is often really, really hard, and that little connection there, I think, is absolutely beautiful. And it's such a scary thing to start your journey, man. And so we thought we'd dive into that today. And so maybe, man, like why did you sort of come up with, wanting to talk about how to start your journey, where to start your journey, that sort of thing?
Well, for all the legends out there that have listened to the previous weeks, we've mentioned the first 100 meters, a couple of times now, and I absolutely love it. I'm definitely getting it on a shirt. What's your first 100 meters? I think that'll be sick. So, but I think the really powerful part about that statement is it's great because it gets you to start thinking about that first initial goal and what it kind of looks like as a system of process or steps, right? So, we talked about climbing Everest the other week, and it's like, cool, we've got a massive goal, which is great. We aim for the sky, nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But then we have those mini goals and steps along the way to get to that end goal, right? And we can always change it along the way. There's nothing wrong with that, as we know as well. But I think probably what I wanted to touch base on today is like, how do we actually start that first 100 meters? Because it's great that we, plan it out and all that sort of stuff. And we bang on all the time as coaches as, it's great to have all the plans in the world, but if you don't take any action, like what's the point of having a plan? Right. And I think that's a really powerful thing, especially for someone that's starting their journey of whether it's weight loss, muscle, whatever the case may be, just better health, right? Like just being better. Right. So to start chasing that better, it's like, how do we start? Like, what's that first initial process to then get the action just happening daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and then it's just you, like that's you going on,
Absolutely, Knoxy. And man, like we all know your story, and like you've come such a long, long way in so many areas. But maybe like when you were just wanting to get started, man, there's probably a couple of things that held you back. What were those things that really held you back?
I've been asked this a few times, especially by a couple of my mates that are life coaches and stuff as well now. And initially my autopilot response, so to speak, is I was scared. And they always pull me up on that. And the fact that it wasn't just one of them that actually pulled me up on that one statement of I was scared, to start, they were like, that wasn't it. Because they're like, was the gym actually scary? Was it on fire when you walked in the door? Like, was the people standing there with like sticks, like going to smash the crap out of you if you didn't run 100 meters on the treadmill or lift that weight or whatever? I was like, well, no, there's never any of that. Well, fuck, I hope not. If you are, and by the way, if you are seeing that, don't go to that gym. But I think what was scary was just a fear of the unknown. And I think the problem with that is there's so much depth to that. It's like, cool, are you an introverted person? Well, I'm not. I'm very outgoing. I'm very loud. I'm happy on the outside and now happy on the inside, which is great. But it's also the fact that there was actually nothing to be afraid of. Like there was nothing actually scary about going to the gym, right? Like when we actually break down that feeling of whether it's anxiety that kicks in going, oh, I don't know anyone. I literally know the girl that works in the office that signed me up yesterday or whatever. Like, but there's 50 other people there. Like that's not actually something to be scared of, right? Because like I said, you're not walking in there to better someone else. You're walking in there to worry about you, or you should be. Right, that should be goal number one. It's like, I want my better, so I'm going to go chase it by taking this first step. And I think I think the main thing that held me back at first was like I just gave into fear, like, and that was a huge point. And that's the reason why those mates of mine have actually pulled me up on that. And they said, can you actually understand that you still use that as part of your story when you tell people like about your first couple of days? It's like, oh my God, I was afraid. And then I'm like, well, actually, no, I wasn't afraid. And now I've got that awareness that the fear, there was nothing to be fearful of, but the fear was actually quite powerful over me, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. And so that was almost holding you captive, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And like thinking there's some ninjas in the toilets waiting to jump out and get you.
You got three more sets. Get out there.
Yeah. Still your set.
Yeah. You can't pee yet. What the hell?
and it didn't eventuate, Knoxy.
No.
You actually found it was probably almost the opposite, where I remember your story of the trainer who came out and tried to save your life at one point. But it was actually quite a supportive and nice environment. And so I guess one of the great things, man, is like now that you are a coach, you've been through that. You've seen that hard, like you've seen what it's like to be afraid of the gym. You were afraid of the gym and it held you captive. And ultimately you're like, look, I've got to do this. And your friends pulled you up on it. And then how does that sort of, I guess, give you a bit of an insight into understanding, someone who wants to start their journey?
Well, my story that I now project out to the world now has changed. So the wording's changed, right? So the part of the intro is now slightly different. And what I mean by that is I'm no longer going, well, you're going to be afraid to start, right? Like I don't really talk about fear or that there will be a fear we need to get rid of or anything like that. I talk about there's a little bit of intimidation potentially, especially with ladies, they're very fearful of obviously self-image and all that sort of stuff, especially when they walk into an environment that they've never been in. They're always, I think you were saying it the other day, women love to, was it women love to feel accepted and then
before
men
they perform?
Yeah. So women love to feel accepted before they perform, whereas guys, on the other hand, will generally try to perform before they can feel accepted. And I think something that goes along with that is the big thing that really cuts that out of the way is I now lead with the conversation of, well, if you have tried it by yourself and you got scared or you fell off the bandwagon or whatever, or you failed, right? Like you've stuffed up, right? You've done your bloody Michelle Bridges 12-week challenge, or you've done your pineapple diet, as Trent loves to talk about, and you failed, right? So the problem then is like, well, who's there to actually guide you through that failure? And how do you ever expect to push through failure if you don't actually go to someone who's already done it, right? Who knows how to push through that? So
Yeah, and why is that so important, man? Because like obviously, like every single person fails at some point in their
Mm.
fitness journey.
Mhm.
Like the other day, I was just starting my diet for the 14th time this month, and my good mate sent me, rings me up and goes, "Hey man, there's someone at your door." I open up the door. Here's a bag of waffles sitting at the bloody door, and I'm like, the universe is sabotaging me, and I'm like. He's like, all right, well, look, I failed again today. We'll get back on it. And so, like, everyone does fail, don't they?
Mhm.
Like, they all fail. And so, like, why is it so important to have someone there to let you know that it's okay?
Well, I think, yeah, like I said, you and this kind of goes into deeper psychology sort of stuff where it's like, the true meaning of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, even though you haven't changed anything, right?
Yeah.
So that's of course always going to end up back at the same spot. You've either fallen off the wagon, you've broken your diet, you've felt like shit and punched a pillow or whatever, right? Like you've got that loop happening.
Mm.
To break that loop or to try and avoid it in the first place, my theory now, or my conversation I have with potential clients, is like, you need to find someone to help guide you through that shit, right? And a good quality coach that has done what you're looking to do before, i.e. a
Yeah.
lot of people come to me for weight loss now because I've done it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that makes them stick with me as clients is that they realize, well, Knoxy talks about it in a way that, he's been there and done it, but he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
talk down at me. He doesn't, berate me if I do stuff up. He's actually understanding if I do stuff up. And actually, I've noticed as a client that he's actually waiting for me to stuff up, right? So a good coach knows that you will fail, right? And he should, or she should be expecting you to stuff up at some point. But
Moxie, there's something weird there. Like, how come you're not yelling at people and telling them they're useless and saying, it's still your set? Why are you not that ninja now?
well, I find I've seen yelly coaches, right? I've seen drill masters. My dad was in the army. I've seen how that works. And it can push people to have a really strong mental, unbreakable edge.
Mm-hmm.
But there is also the caring and conservative approach that does work. And I feel long term that generally will hold on better. And it will generally help you bounce back from things quicker, because you're constantly not. The fine line with a yelly drill structure, a drill sergeant sort of way, is that you can be pushed to the negative very quickly, especially if you're weak of mind to start with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so I guess, man, like for someone who is, ready to chase better and sort of look at their first 100 meters, what does that look like in terms of a step-by-step process?
Well, the first thing I always recommend now is go and find someone who's done it. Right. It's one of the most important things. Now, again, if they're coming to me or they're on the phone to me or they've come through as a lead or whatever, they're messaging me on Instagram or whatever. My first thing is like, cool, what do you actually want to do? Like, what's your 100 meters, right? Is it, you want to be able to deadlift double body weight? Is it you want to drop 20 kilos and go in a bodybuilding competition? Is it whatever? Once we know that, we can then plan backwards. And if they're a good fit for me, I can go, well, cool, I can help you with that because I've literally done those things myself, but I've also now coached other people to that goal with success. Social proof, so to speak. But even if they're not a good fit for me, my next advice is go and find someone that has done that, right? And this is something I bang on about to gym members at the moment. Like I literally had this conversation with a client yesterday. I said, the only difference between you and me and the fact that I have a really good, clean, heavy weighted squat is that I've done it more than you. You've been squatting for a month. I've changed my technique like 5 times in the last 6 years alone, whether it's knees a little bit wider apart, feet a little bit wider apart, standing a bit taller, sitting a bit deeper, all these sorts of things, worked on mobility, flexibility, yada, yada, yada. Like, but what that came from was I went and found people that were better at squats than me. You know what I mean? Like I went and searched out for my Yoda and I found them because they were people that I saw on Instagram or I had seen their courses where like they had a really good squat. And I was like, sick, I want that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And so once you've sort of found that person, what is the next step to take?
Well, the next thing is just reach out to them. Like, make contact with that person, because I can guarantee you, like, if they're a genuinely good human being, which most coaches are, like, they are willing to at least give you 5 seconds of advice. Even if it's their, in the digital world, it's their virtual assistant that messages you back and says, hey, we'll be in contact. But taking that first step to just reach out and go, hey, your squat's amazing, or I've seen the client results you've had, and I want to be your next success story. Like, make that first action step.
I really like what you just said there is, I want to be your next success story.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just reach out and dip your toe in the water and, hey, Knoxy, can I just get a little bit of advice? Because once again, that's that fear holding them back, isn't it?
Exactly.
And it's like, we all want to dip our toe in the water and be like, oh, Knoxy, could you just maybe give me a couple of pointers? But realistically, it's like, why not just go all in? Once you found that person and really, really trust them, because that's such a massive part of it. And if you've, had the courage to reach out, and as you said, like, you reach out to Knoxy and he's going to have a yarn with you, he's going to be there to support you all the way. And if you have that courage to just say, all right, Knoxy, I want to be your next transformation story, it's absolutely incredible. And so once I've done that, man, they've reached out to you, they've gone and said, hey, look, let's do this. Cool. What is that sort of, what does that first 100 meters look like normally when they come and train with you?
So the first thing, obviously, is we need to find out what they can currently do. Right now, this is a really important thing with a new client, is like, are you banged up? Have you got busted shoulders? Are your knees cooked? Are you 17 and you're like strong as hell already and you move fine, right? But I've met several 19-year-olds now, or even just people under the age of 20, and their hamstrings are cooked already. Like, they're tight as hell. They've played junior sport. They've never stretched. It's that unbreakable mindset, right? But it all comes back to, what can you currently do? What are you capable of? And how can we make that better? Right. And again, that is part of finding your first 100 meters, right? Like, because there's no point you having a goal to be the strongest man in WA or the world or whatever, if we don't actually know what you can currently do, right? You have to find that starting point. And that's essentially where we would do like a movement sprint. It's like, cool, can you squat to depth? Can you, hip hinge without back pain? Can you, put your hands above your head without shoulder pain? Like, all these sorts of things, like just basic tests and movement ability processes. And then the second thing is, we need to get some data. Now, this is the intimidating part, because it's before photos, and it's generally a body scan of some sort, or at least a weigh-in and maybe some measurements. Now, the idea with this is that, again, ladies are very visual creatures. They love to make sure that they look great, as we know, and so do guys to a degree, but usually they're more, numbers on the bar base, So the second thing is like finding data, because it's like, once we have data and we know that what you can move or how you can move or any tight spots or weak spots, then we can start putting a plan together to go, okay, cool. You need to start here at destination A. We need to get you to destination C, but we're going to have to go through B to get there. And B is where we go, cool, this will be your training program. This is the sorts of foods we need to start looking at, or, reducing some of the shit ones, all these sorts of things. And it's like cleaning up any bad habits along the way. That's where the coaching comes in, because we can fix little things like, sleep patterns and having a regular bedtime and, eating a good breakfast that actually, keeps you full of all these sorts of things. Like, we can fill that along the way. But the main thing is, we have to get data and know what you can currently do to be able to step forward.
Yeah, and that's that starting point. And as we sort of covered, last few weeks about that Everest, everyone has their eyes on the Everest and they forget where they're actually at for a start. And it makes it very, very hard to plot the journey without, checking in with where we are right now, being honest with where we are right now. And once you've got that there, then you can start to plot that Everest. And as you said, tick off those little things along the way, which is pretty cool.
And I think another powerful point of having like a very set in stone, like, this was me day one, right? Like, I was whatever weight, whatever measurements, I could do this sort of movement, but not this one.
Yep.
That's something that 6 months, 2 years, 5 years down the track, as your coach, hopefully, or now that you're a world-class athlete,
Yeah.
I can still remind you of, hey, do you remember day one? Like you were pretty banged up or you were in a pretty bad way. And now you've had one day off your food plan and you're destroying yourself. Like, let's give you some perspective. And I think that's the other really important part of why you need to have that coach there, just to remind you of that sort of stuff. Like the amount of conversations weekly, and you'd relate to this, the amount of conversations weekly that I have with clients that I'm just reminding them of day one. I'm like, do you remember when you couldn't squat to depth and your back hurt after every session because you were just so jacked up?
Yeah.
You know?
And it's amazing too. Like it's the people that often at the start don't want to do this stuff, you know, and we do hold their hand and say, hey, look, it's going to be all right. You're going to be really proud of yourself. You know, 6, 12 months, 18 months, as you said, 2 years down the track, they're often so impressed and so shocked. And they actually like, they almost become an inspiration for others because they're like, whoa, that was you? Because even, you know, you walk into a gym sometimes and people have been training with us for a little while, they're generally doing all right, you know, and people just think, oh, that's how they were born.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, as you said, they're banged up, you know, they couldn't walk when they came in the gym, they were 20 kilos overweight, and now they're a weapon. And it's really, really cool to keep that data and then the way you've done it, man, and become that inspiration for others down the track, which is very, very cool. Yeah, cool, man. So cool, man. Like great topic tonight. You know, how to hit your first 100 meters. So just to sort of wrap it up, bro. If you want to go chase better and you want to start that first 100 meters, just a quick recap on those steps, and then maybe a little something to get these guys taking that first step.
So, I mean, the big thing that I would recommend is, like I said, like find something meaningful as a target, not just 5 kilos of weight loss. What I would be asking instead of yourself before you get started is like, what's 5 to 10 kilos of weight loss going to give me back? Like, what am I missing inside? Like, is it confidence in your clothes? Is it, you know, the fact that you feel out of breath just walking your kids down the street to take them to school? You know, something is like small and meaningless is actually really powerful as a goal. Like, I want to reduce that or get rid of it so that I am, you know, one of the confident mums in activewear that, you know, strides down towards school and my kids are awesome and I'm fucking awesome. Like you want to like give yourself that feeling of good, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think when you've got that as a deeper goal, and again, if you can't find that and you can't figure that out yourself, that's okay. Like, I'm not going to expect everyone out there that's never had a goal before or sat down and written a goal to be able to do it themselves. And that's where step number 2 is go and find someone, a coach, a mentor, even just a best mate that's had a really good result in their own journey, right? Go and start throwing some ideas around and asking the right questions of, hey, I want to be the next success story in my own story. What do I have to do to make that happen? Right? Stop, like you said, doing the half-assed approach of like, oh, I was just wondering if you could give me a tip. It's like, no, I want a result. Like I want to be better. How do I chase it? Let's go.
I love that, man. Nah, really, really good, bro. And look, man, just maybe something that can, you know, help these guys if they were sort of to leave a comment or, you know, reach out to you, what would be something you could sort of give them to get them started? Maybe a 30-step challenge would be a great one.
Yeah. So like, as always, I'm running a 30 for 30 challenge. And the idea with that is you choose one thing that you want to improve for 30 days. Now, it could be the fact of having a regular bedtime that is the same every night for 30 days. And that includes weekends, which is tough. Trust me, that's a tough one. The other simple thing is finding 30 minutes of walking a day. That's the one that I've chosen for myself. It's been fantastic. It's helping keep me leaner for football. So again, it's aligning with my current goals. And obviously,
you are looking sharp, Knoxy.
Yeah, I did the hair today as well. So, but yeah, I think that's probably one of my great tools that I have available. And again, if you're wanting to set a 30 for 30 day challenge and then keep yourself accountable, by all means, use the hashtag, tag me in it, you know, chasing better with Knoxy, you know, and use the hashtag 30 for 30 challenge. You've probably seen it on all of my socials and I'll keep that going. The next one's probably going to be a mobility sprint or a, you know, 30 for 30 day challenge for mobility, you know, some back stuff, ankles, whatever. And then the other things as well, smashing out a 28-day challenge in the next 2 weeks. So I will be launching a new one. That's going to be for both guys that are in the gym and online members as well. So again, if you can't come and train with me in person, please don't be afraid to reach out for help, because I can now help anyone on the planet. I have, people in the US that I'm helping. I've got a guy over in New South Wales that finally got his first weight off on the scale, which is fantastic. All this sort of stuff. So again, don't feel a fear of, I can't train with Knoxy in person, so I won't ask for help. Like, still hit me up on socials, drop me a DM, whatever, and let's go. Let's chase it.
I love it, man. All right, man. Another awesome episode. Let's chase better. And we'll catch you next week, brother.
Awesome. Thanks, bro. Peace.
See ya.